It is medical virology and mycology, and currently we are in unit 1. So the subject code is BMLS 4005. As usual, you have 6 units in this semester. So you will have 3 CAT exams. Each CAT exam, CAT 1 will have first 2 units, unit 1 and 2. In your CAT 2, you have 3 and 4, and in the CAT 3, you have 5 and 6, which is activity based. So in the unit 1, we have basics in virology, such as introduction to medical virology, introduction to medically important viruses, structure and classification of viruses, multiplication of viruses, collection, transportation, and storage of sample for viral diagnosis. So these are the important topics which have in the unit 1. And I will also add a few more additional topics to satisfy the complete spectrum of this basics in virology. So after this course, obviously you will know everything about viruses, and you know how to, you will come to understand how to diagnose a sample for virus studies. So then we discussed about the tree of life. Then I raised a question that viruses not belongs to any kingdom of life. And we discussed that the basic definition of viruses. First, we try to form an answer to the definition of the virus by comparing virus with a living organism. So the only difference between a virus and living organism is virus don't have any metabolic activity outside the cell, but it still have life-like properties, since it can able to replicate, it can able to evolve, and it can able to spread in the population and get mutated eventually. So because of these 3 properties, viruses are still classified as a living entities. So virus cannot reproduce, rather than virus will replicate its genetic material within the cell. And viruses are the smallest living organisms in the planet Earth. So viruses are very small. So the smallest virus is around 20 nanometers, whereas the largest virus is around 200 nanometers. The largest virus is the size of the smallest bacteria, they are saying. So you just understand again, the largest virus is the size of the smallest bacteria. So that is how much small the viruses are. And usually the viruses that will attack the bacteria are called as bacteriophages, and we are not bothering about the viruses that will attack the bacteria, rather than we are studying about the viruses that will replicate in a living cell or eukaryotic cells of the human. So we are only studying medically important viruses. And we discussed about the morphology. So in the morphology, I just given a brief idea that so viruses can be only observed. The true morphology of virus can only be observed by the help of electron microscope. Since electron microscope is very costly, so we cannot opt for studying the details of structure of virus. Rather than we will go with indirect approaches to study the viral presence in the blood sample. Then I discussed about the viral replication. So usually virals, this will be replicated via 6 stages. So first the virus will be attached to the cell surface, then it will get uncoated, it will penetrate into the cell, then it will uncoat its genetic material, then the genetic material undergo biosynthesis, where the genetic material will be converted into proteins. Then these proteins get assembled into a baby virions or immature viruses, and these viruses will be assembled and they will be matured and they will be released outside the cell. Usually the release are of 2 types. One is lytic release, and the other one is the budding release. Usually the enveloped viruses will be released via budding, whereas the non-enveloped viruses will be released via lytic phase of the cycle of the cell cycle. Then there is only one exception for one virus, where this virus will first I said about the notation that the central dogma of life, where the DNA will be converted to RNA and RNA will be converted to protein. But there is one virus that will convert its RNA to DNA, which is reverse to the central dogma of life. So that's why these viruses are called retroviruses. Retro means reverse viruses, and HIV is a retrovirus. So HIV is RNA virus, but it will convert its RNA to DNA via help of reverse transcriptase, and then it will proceed. Hence, due to this mode of replication, the rate of mutation is very high in the HIV. Because if this high mutation rate, the virus will change its behavior, its properties, and its morphological characteristics in each and every cycle of the replication. Hence, it will end up with so many different serotypes. I cannot say serotypes, different types of viruses of the same origin, which is HIV, and the immune system cannot get adapted to this particular virus, and eventually immune system will go degraded. It will undergo deficiency, and that is how you will get human immunodeficiency viral infection. So that is the mechanism of HIV. Then Baltimore. So how these viruses are introducing their RNA or DNA, the genetic material into the ribosome. Depending upon the mode of insertion of genetic material into the ribosome, these viruses has been classified into 7 types. And this was given by a scientist called Sir David Baltimore, who received Nobel Prize for this discovery. So I also said that viral DNA or RNA has 2 more properties. It has single-stranded RNA or double-stranded RNA, single-stranded DNA and double-stranded DNA, and it also has both positive sense RNA, negative sense, both positive and negative senses of both RNA and DNA. So this is how the viral genetics has been classified. So that's it. So until here we studied yesterday, and also I said that each cell can able to produce 2000 viruses per second. So the rate of replication of virus is very high, and that also depends upon the virus to virus. The rate of replication may vary from virus to virus, but usually the typical rate of production of viruses by a single cell is around 2000 viruses per second, which is a breathtakingly heavy number. And it's very complexity you can see at the level of cell. So this is what we covered so far in this in the last few lectures. So everyone paying attention, right? No,
Yes,
no
sir.
doubts, right? So far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yeah. Next, coming to families of virus. Keep in mind, students, as I said, I'm only discussing basics in this first week. I'm not giving in detail individual viral notes. Okay, that we can do again in the next week. It will be like a revision in the next week. As of now, we are only going with the surface things about the virus. And when I am discussing about this viral replication, I also said that one thing, when the virus is replicating in the cell, it will leave some exclusion bodies, some debris. What is the name of that debris, students? Do you remember? The debris that is left by a virus when it is replicating inside the cell is called as? Do you remember?
Inclusion bodies.
Very good, very
So
good.
inclusion bodies.
Very good inclusion. Very good inclusion bodies. Now, what will be the location of inclusion bodies of a DNA virus? Location of inclusion body of a DNA virus. Can you tell me?
Nucleus.
Okay. You need to be precise. Intranucleus. Okay. Inside the nucleus. Hence, they are called as intranuclear inclusion bodies. What will be the location of RNA viruses?
Intracytoplasmic
So
nucleus.
cytoplasm.
Very good. Intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies can be seen in RNA viruses. Very good, students. Now you know some basics in viruses. Very good. There is few more classifications that we can see later. Then, so there is a big problem. The problem is this one. So families of viruses. What do I mean by families of viruses? Are they humans? Do you have any families? What I was trying to tell. This I will discuss now. So before discussing about families of viruses, a simple question. How many of you know any examples of DNA and RNA virus? Say for example, if I say HIV, what type of virus is it? Is it DNA or RNA virus?
RNA virus. RNA
What
virus.
about pox virus? Pox RNA or DNA? What about measles, mumps, rubella, rabies, polio, hepatitis, adeno, influenza, herpes, cytomegalo, Epstein-Barr, varicella zoster, chickenpox? There are many viruses. And what virus belongs to what type? Measles, is it a DNA or RNA? Polio, is it DNA or RNA? So you don't have precise idea. So now we need to, this is a basic thing. At least you should know whether the virus is DNA virus or RNA virus. Very basic information. Unless, if you are not even clear at this aspect, how can you able to go for lab diagnosis? Because if it is a DNA virus, you will directly go to PCR. If it is a RNA virus, then you should go with RT-PCR. If you don't know the fundamentals, basic knowledge whether the virus is RNA or DNA, how can you process the sample? So now I will ensure that every one of you will know what are DNA viruses and what are RNA viruses. So after this lecture, trust me students, if I ask what is measles, you will tell the answer, whether it's measles is RNA or DNA virus. Okay, so now let us see the classification of viruses or types of viruses. Now, before starting this classification or types of viruses, first we need to know about families of viruses. What do I mean by family of virus? I will tell now. So everyone paying attention, right? Is everyone listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you. Fine. Now, I will tell about families of virus. In order to give you an idea of families of virus, let us go with the regular taxonomical family. So we already know that Linnaeus, he has classified all living organisms into taxons. Taxons means a separate branch. So he separated the animal kingdom. Say for example, if you take the family Canidae, canine. In Canidae, you can see all these dog-like animals: foxes, jackal, dogs, jacks. There are many fox animals, right? All these belongs to tiger, puma, fox. All these are belongs to this family. All tigers, this foxes, jackals, even dogs belongs to Canidae family. Okay, Canidae family. Why I'm telling family is important, because at least if we know the family of this virus, we can able to understand whoever present in this family will have similar characters. All canine family will have this four legs. They will have sharp ears. They will have very sharp teeth. Usually they will be carnivorous. That means their primary diet is meat. Even though we don't know individual animal, but still we can able to predict its behavior, its characteristics, its habitat, its lifestyle, just by knowing its family. Say for example, if I say family uh, primates, primates will have all monkeys, baboons, chimpanzees, gorillas, humans, all primates, all monkeys belongs to primates. And we have some idea. Yeah, primate means definitely it will have monkey-like features. It will have two hands. It will have nice palms. It looks very similar to humans. So that is why we need to know the families of viruses first. Why I'm telling this? Because, say for example, there is a family called Herpes viridae family. It's a viral family. In Herpes viridae, we have three classes: alpha, beta, gamma viruses. In Herpes family, we have many viruses, like we have herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, varicella zoster virus. All these five viruses belongs to the same family called Herpes viridae. Now, all these five viruses will have same morphology actually. Few changes will be there here and there, maybe the surface receptor change, but all these five viruses will belongs to herpes viridae. So just by knowing the family, we will understand, yes, these five viruses can transmit by sexually transmitted diseases can occur due to herpes viruses. They can induce cancers. They can attack either via genital region or via orogenital regions, or they can also cause fetal infections, or they can also act as a agents that can cause developing baby abnormalities, congenital abnormalities. So that is why, just by understanding the family itself, we can able to predict the characteristics of the viruses belongs to that family. So that is why we need to know the family of the viruses. Is everything clear so far? Any confusions?
No, sir. No confusion.
Yeah, fine. Um, Okay, next, carnivore. Okay, so like this, I said hominidae. I said primates. Actually, it is hominidae family. In the hominidae family, we have humans, baboons, chimpanzees, gorilla, orangutans. Everything belongs to this family. So at least by knowing the family, we can able to predict the characters, as I said. Yeah. So even virus have families, just like the way animals have viruses. Sorry, sir. Animals has families, taxonomical families. Even viruses also have families. This we just made this taxonomy for our convenience. Just for our convenience, we have segregated these viruses into families. Actually, it's not a true taxonomical classification, but we, for the sake of better understanding the properties of these viruses, we have classified them. But the authenticated classification will be always the Baltimore classification, where the viral genetic insertion, depending upon viruses, has been universally standardized. But these families is just for rough understanding of viruses. Okay. Now, as I already stated, how many types of viruses we have? We have only two types of viruses. Either we will have DNA viruses or we will have RNA viruses. Is it clear, students? We have either DNA viruses or RNA. Yes. Now,
Yes, sir.
okay. Now, I will tell you one important point here. In each family, we have a supervillain, very khatarnak supervillain. We have in both, in the DNA we have one supervillain, and in the RNA we have supervillain. And both the supervillain names will start with H actually. So both the supervillains names will start with H. Okay. So the, let us see why I'm telling this H. I will let you know. So the supervillain in DNA is always hepatitis B virus. I'm telling again, hepatitis B virus is one of the deadliest virus in DNA. Hepatitis is highly infectious. Definitely, if you get exposed to hepatitis, there is a 99% chance of getting liver infection. So very deadliest virus. So hepatitis belongs to DNA virus. Then we have RNA virus also. So that is HIV. HIV is a supervillain in RNA viruses. Among RNA viruses, HIV is very important, whereas in the DNA, hepatitis is very important. Is it clear, students? Hepatitis is DNA,
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes,
HIV
sir.
is RNA viruses. Yeah. Now, now I will split this lecture into two parts. The first part will be, first I will let you know what is family. First, I will tell you the family of viruses present in this domain and what viruses present to that family. First, I will introduce their families and I will introduce their members. In this family, we have these viruses. Similarly, I will introduce the second one. First, I will introduce the DNA families and I will show you the DNA viruses. Then I will introduce RNA families and I will show the RNA family viruses. So by this, I will start the class. So first, let us know the family of DNA viruses. Let us know the family of DNA viruses. Yeah. So the family, to remember the families of DNA viruses, always keep in mind HAP cube. I don't know how you will remember it. The mnemonic, the shortcut is HAP cube. HAP cube. DNA families are HAP cube. RNA is proc BT. I will come later. So what is this HAP cube stands for? In DNA viruses, the families are HAP cube. So H stands for herpes viruses. A stands for adeno. Just to keep in mind, family will always end with DE. Okay, herpes viridae, adenoviridae. I didn't wrote herpes viridae here, but keep in mind, families will end with dei in the last as a suffix. Okay, now let us see. So I said HAP cube, right? H stands for herpes viridae, A stands for adenoviridae, P stands for pox viridae. I said 3, P cube. Let us see. Papoviridae, parvoviridae, and that's it, parvoviridae. So these are the important families in DNA viruses. What are the families? Herpes viridae, Adenoviridae, Pox viridae, Papoviridae, and Parvoviridae. By the way, Papavo and Parvo also relatively smallest viruses. So the families are Herpes viridae, Adenoviridae, Pox viridae, Papoviridae, and Parvoviridae. Now, what about the individual viruses? What viruses present in these families? Who are the members of this family? Now, we always know, right? Wherever there is life, just forgot about viruses, normal life. Okay, either it's a plant, anything. Life means, at least on planet Earth, DNA. DNA has the potential for life. Will you agree with my statement? DNA has the potential for life. If there is life, that means it must possess DNA. DNA has the potential for life. So my shortcut to remember viruses in DNA is DNA has the potential. So just remember, DNA has the potential. DNA has the potential. HAS. Now, H stands for Herpes viridae. In the Herpes viridae, we have three classes, three genus or three classes. So the three genus are alpha viruses, beta viruses, gamma viruses. Alpha viruses include herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, Epstein-Barr virus. In beta class, we have cytomegalovirus, and in the gamma class, we have varicella zoster. These are the viruses present in the herpes viridae. So herpes viridae further divided into alpha, beta, gamma. Alpha viruses are herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, Epstein-Barr virus, beta, cytomegalovirus, and gamma, varicella zoster. These are the viruses in herpes viridae. Then we have adenovirus, direct name adenovirus. Then we have smallpox, belongs to pox viridae. Then we have the deadliest supervillain. Who is the supervillain in DNA virus?
Hepatitis B.
Hepatitis B. Very good student. Someone said hepatitis B. Why that is important? Because only hepatitis B is a DNA virus. Hepatitis A and hepatitis C are RNA viruses. Hepatitis A and hepatitis C are RNA viruses. Only hepatitis B is DNA virus. Keep in mind. So these are the few important viruses in DNA. DNA viruses, important DNA viruses. Maybe we will study 2 or 3 viruses in detail. Even though in the syllabus they didn't mention individual viruses, but still we have to study them. So these are few important DNA viruses. I will tell again. DNA family is HAP cube, which stands for Herpes viridae, Adenoviridae, Pox viridae, Papoviridae, and Parvoviridae. And the individual viruses are DNA has the potential. So H stands for Herpes viridae. Herpes viridae, we have 3 classes: alpha class, beta class, and gamma class. So alpha class, we have herpes simplex 1, herpes simplex 2, Epstein-Barr virus. Beta, we have cytomegalovirus, gamma, varicella zoster. So this family has 3 classes. Then we have adenovirus, smallpox, and hepatitis. So this is all about DNA viruses. Okay. Now let us move on to the RNA viruses. So the mnemonic, the shortcut to remember the families of RNA viruses are PROC-BT, P-R-O-C-B-T. Okay, P-R-O-C, PROC-BT. So what are these PROC-BT? I will let you know. P stands for paramyxoviruses, paramyxoviridae, rhabdoviridae, R square, okay, PR2, okay, PROC-BT, PR square. That means rhabdoviridae, retroviridae. Then we have again O. O stands for orthomyxoviridae, Then C. Can anyone guess what is C means? What type of viruses can present in C family? C stands for coronaviridae. In the coronaviridae, we have many viruses actually. In fact, your common cold causing viruses are coronaviruses. There are many viruses that will cause common cold. So coronavirus is not a new one. It's a well-established, very old virus only. Since I prepared this notes, this diagram, I wrote this one in 2016. But coronaviruses we know since 1990 onwards, because in 2002, one of the coronavirus family, virus called SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS virus is a coronavirus. Then in 2011 or 2012, we got Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS viral outbreak, which is a coronavirus. Then in 2019 or 20 beginning, we got a new strain of coronavirus virus, which is a novel new coronavirus virus discovered in 2019. COVID-19, corona viral disease 19. So coronaviruses are not new. So all these coronaviruses belongs to coronavirus, like SARS, MERS, COVID-19. All these are coronaviruses, coronavirus. Then, then we have Bunya viruses. B stands for Bunya. T stands for Toga viruses. Other than this, there are one more virus which I am unable to keep in the beginning. This virus is Picornaviruses. Picornavirus means pico, very small RNA viruses. Pico RNA viruses or picornaviruses. Okay, so picornavirus. These are the families of RNA viruses. I'm repeating families again: Paramyxoviridae, Rhabdoviridae, Retroviridae, Orthomyxoviridae, Coronaviridae, Bunyaviridae, Togaviridae, Picornaviridae. Maybe still you may not familiarized with these words because this is your first time encountering these new words, but I will try to give an additional information via small explanation. How many of you know influenza viruses, swine flu, bird flu, swine flu, right? This bird flu or swine flu, we know everywhere, right? Once upon a time, these pigs has been slaughtered, birds has been killed because they are spreading a viral infection on humans, in humans. That's why we kill. Those influenza viruses belongs to Orthomyxoviridae actually. Orthomyxoviridae has a special characters. All these orthomyxoviruses, the meaning of orthomyxo means ortho, free, mixo, mucus loving, mixo means mucus viruses, free mucus viruses. What is the meaning of free mucus viruses? That means these viruses are free. That means they are everywhere. They love mucus. That's why they are called mucus loving virus. Free mucus loving viruses. Usually mucus we have in the nose respiratory tract, in the upper and lower respiratory tract. That means all these orthomyxoviruses will cause respiratory infection, such as influenza virus. Influenza will cause respiratory infection. Now, as I yes, now now the meaning of ortho means free DNA. Sorry, free genome. So here in the genome, the genetic material has been fragmentized. 1 second, students. I'm coming, sir. All right, students. So just remember the families of this one. So influenza viruses belongs to this one. Then PCR square. So individual viruses you can understand by the mnemonic PCR square, PCR, MMR, cube. Okay, PCR square stands for P stands for polio, C stands for coronaviruses, R rhinoviruses, rotavirus, measles, mumps, rubella, rabies, influenza, HIV. So these are the RNA viruses. Students, sorry for discomfort. Actually, I have another word. As of today, just remember these things. Tomorrow, I will take RNA viruses again. Maybe I will discuss RNA families again in detail. So, is everything clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Try to take a screenshot of this one, this classification. Work on it. Then I will end this classroom. I have another work. Okay. Sorry for the discomfort. We can continue later. So thank you very much. I will
Okay, sir.
download it. Yeah. Let me download your attendance. Okay. Thank you very much. Ending this session. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, students. Yes.